Hey guys, my name is Lexie Smith. I'm a three-time founder, CEO, seasoned publicist and marketer, and your host of the Pitchin and Sippin podcast. This show will give you a front row seat to conversations with top-tier journalists, leading PR pros and marketers, and inspiring brands and entrepreneurs on the rise. I deeply believe that knowledge is power and that learning can actually be fun. So for those who need to craft pitches regularly, whether to reach an audience, land a client, earn media coverage, bylines, and beyond, listen up, take a sip, and get ready for a goldmine of invaluable tips. Whitney Lee is the founder of True Story Public Relations, an award-winning creative agency helping companies in the hospitality, products, and service industries thrive. With a master's degree in integrated marketing communications from Florida State University, an accreditation in public relations, and a certification as a public relations counselor, Whitney has grown her PR agency from the small beach town of Destin, Florida, to the international agency it is today. She was named Scarlett Magazine's Woman of the Year in PR, one of the 5 most dynamic women leaders ruling the PR industry, and one of United Way's 40 Under 40. Her insights are regularly featured in well-known media outlets. She's also a keynote speaker and the host of True Story, the PR podcast, where she shares tangible ways to market your business and simple strategies to connect with your ideal customers through social media, email marketing, and so much more. Now, funny fact, maybe it's not even that funny, but Whitney and I actually first connected on Instagram, which probably shouldn't surprise me, and perhaps I date myself by saying, but I still think is so wild. So I digress. Whitney, welcome officially to the show. Where are you in the world right now where we join this recording?
Hey, Lexi. So actually right now I'm coming to you from Denver, Colorado. Being in the hospitality space, we do a lot of travel to our hotel resort clients. So I'm in Denver right now.
How are you liking Denver?
It's chilly, which is surprising at the time of this recording for anyone who's listening. It's late May and it's still 40 degrees outside. So I'm a Southerner. I was born and raised in South Mississippi and then lived in Florida for 15 years. So this is cold to me.
I mean, that's cold in general. 40 degrees is cold.
I think it's like 47. It's the middle of the day and it's 47 degrees outside. I'm like bundled up with a heating pad on my lap. So
if it's below 70, so I'm from the Pacific Northwest, so grew up in cold climates, live in Southern California now. I'm so acclimated that if it's under 70 degrees, even in my house, I have blankets, socks, slippers, a sweater. It's absolutely pathetic, but a very real thing. So
yep.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Entirely.
I mean, it's fun. It's Colorado's so beautiful and the people in Denver are so kind. But it is definitely a change of pace from the life I usually know, you know?
Do you faster or slower?
Um, I will say this, Denver is more, I expected it to be more of an outdoorsy city. And I think when you get to some of the outlying areas like Golden and Boulder and places like that, it is a little more outdoorsy, but actual Denver is like more of a concrete jungle than I expected.
Yeah, I can see that. My co-founder and co-host of another podcasting company, she lives in Denver, Colorado. I connected you too, that's right. I don't know
Yeah,
if you guys have had
yeah.
a chance to connect, but she's in Denver, so I've had a chance to explore that city a bit more. And it is a city. There's beautiful outlying activities beyond downtown, but you're right. There is a legit city there.
Yeah, but it's so fun. And I love being able to, my team is fully remote. So we're a team of 10 and fully female, which is pretty cool, but we're all over the map. And I love it. Like I haven't been in an office since I was 26 years old.
Wow.
And so, everyone's like, oh, you guys went remote after COVID. I'm like, please, I was remote in 2013, I think was
Yeah,
the
you're a trendsetter. You didn't follow it.
well, freedom is everything to me. And I love to travel, which makes the hospitality space a really good fit. But I love having a fully remote team and they do too. I tell them, I'm like, I don't care where in the world you are. Like, we're able to do what we do from anywhere. And also I think traveling like this really helps open our eyes to ideas for other clients. you
Yeah.
know? So it actually, not only do we know that space well, but then also getting inspiration from all these different cities. And every time, I'm such a nerd. Every time I go to a new city, I do look up like all the fun bougie restaurants, but I love to pop through all the big hotels in town and sit at their bar, or bring my laptop and sit in their coffee shop and see what's happening on all these different properties. Cause it's just, I jokingly say it's market research, but it is really market research.
Expensive, right?
Yeah, yeah, totally.
And we're gonna totally dive into multiple things you just brought up. But first, I want to give everyone a little bit of context. And on this show, I always like to rewind time and go into a bit of career cliff notes so people can hear how you got to where you are today. Because I've learned through, I don't even know how many episodes we have at this point. This is season 7. Everyone's journey is so different. So let's look at yours. Let's take a walk down memory lane. High level, what came before today?
Um, so I actually did go to school for communication, which is funny. And I was having this conversation with someone the other day about like who's actually using their degree anymore, but actually I'm using my degree. So I went to undergrad at Southern Miss for communication, grad school at Florida State for integrated marketing communication. Started the career at an independent hotel and got moved up at a big promotion to be the director of marketing for the Hilton Sandestin. And so let's see, I was 25 years old and I sat in a room all day with no windows by myself. And I had agencies that were getting to do all the fun, cool things. And I was just the button pusher. Yes, this looks good. Okay, change this photo. Wait a minute, we have 600 rooms, not 700. Like, they were getting to do all the fun things. And I was honestly so bored. So when I went in, I was there for 1 year and I went in to quit and they said, please don't leave. Well, we'll give you a raise. What do we have to do to keep you? And I said, you can be my first client. And so that's kind of how it worked out. So I was 26 years old. I had no freaking clue what I was doing. I mean, I knew what I was doing in PR, but I didn't know what I was getting into by stepping out on my own. My parents tried to talk me out of it. I love that they're just trying to protect me. So, but since then, I mean, at first we started really locally, or it was just me. Within a few months, I had to hire a team member. After that, I hired 2, I hired 3, and then literally blinked my eyes and 11 years passed. So in March was 11 years since I left the Hilton Sandestin. And now, like I said, we're a team of 10. We're fully female and we're fully remote. And I really just stayed in that hospitality lane because it's what I know best. I
Yeah.
have literally worked from fast food to fine dining. I've worked for banquets. I've worked in luxury resorts. I have all the things. So that hospitality has been my life's work. And so that's really our main lane of, and when I say hospitality, people think it's just hotels, but that means restaurant groups. We've had spas. We have a sailing line based out of the Maldives. So we've done an aquarium, like things like that. So it's like attractions, tourism, travel, kind of anything in that lane. So that's a quick blink of the last like 15 years.
Right. And all summarized into what, 2 minutes? Well
Yeah.
done. Well done. So quickly too, just for anyone listening, kind of on the business or brand side too, I want you to have an opportunity to share kind of your core suite of services or what you're doing for these incredible clients.
Yeah, absolutely. So really what people come to us for is PR. But what I find is that people don't really know what PR means. That term is so broad.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
I know, right? People say PR and they have no idea what they're talking about.
I always say they usually think of like Hollywood and red carpets, magazines, or crisis comms, Olivia Pope. And I feel like they don't really know the in between.
Okay, now I'm gonna date myself, but most people would say like Samantha from
Samantha,
Sex and the
Sex in the
City.
City. Yeah.
Yeah, like all I do is go to restaurant openings and giggle and drink martinis. Yeah, right. I wish. Uh but most people come to us for PR. So I always say for PR, that's media relations. So pitching for earned media, also, press announcements, anything of that nature, helping you get visible in the press. helping our clients win awards to elevate their reputation, positioning someone as a thought leader and getting them opportunities, in different ways to position the leader as a thought leader in that industry. Gosh, it can be crisis communications. It can be partnerships. We do a lot of partnerships. Excuse me. We do a lot of partnerships. We help a lot of our properties come up with activations. We don't really plan events, but we are more of the brainchild of what activations are going to help get the right people on property. And then we use that as ammo to get media coverage. So people come to us for PR, but we also do have a social team. We do paid and organic social. And then we also have a team that handles email marketing, all the funnels, all that good stuff. And really, I feel like those are the triad, right? So what we used to find is that we would do PR for somebody and we would get them great exposure, but then their social was lame or they had no email funnel. So we were getting them all this visibility and then we were like missing future opportunities because they didn't have a machine in place to continue to nurture those people.
Yeah.
So that's why really we feel like those are the triads. Before we start getting the word out with PR, we always make sure they have a solid social presence, they have a solid website, and they have a good email funnel. So when people do hear about them, they come back and they have somewhere to nurture them.
Introducing the next big thing you should be sipping on, Sun Moon Rising, the world's first astrology-inspired wine brand. Proudly female-founded, low-intervention, and certified sustainable, Sun Moon Rising is on a mission to redefine the way you engage with wine, delivering a cosmic connection in every glass. They are offering all Pitchin and Sippin listeners 10% off their first purchase. Simply use promo code PITCHIN10, that's PITCHIN10, all caps, at checkout online at sunmoonrisingwine.com. We will put that in the show notes. Cheers! So smart, and I completely agree. When it doesn't just end with you got press, now you're famous, and you made billions of dollars. It's how that integrates throughout the whole cog. We're going to actually save listeners. We're going to talk about the earned side a little bit more and what it's like on the front lines pitching for hospitality. But first, I'm going to be a little selfish. I want to go behind the scenes because I now have a remote team of 6, and I'm super curious, as someone who's even that much further ahead. I want to pick your brain a little bit here.
Oh, let's do it.
Yeah. For me, and I don't know, I'm curious if this comes up for you because it sounds like you do have you're pro travel as well. My biggest challenge are the time zones. And while yes, my team can travel anywhere, at the same time, they need to be available, when our clients need us. And that's been a really sticky pain point for me. We're working through it. I'm curious for you, what challenges have arisen, if any, and growing and having a fully remote team of 10, and kind of the second part to that, how have you overcome?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This has been, well, let me say first and foremost, leading a team is the most challenging part of this. It's not doing the work. The work is great, and finding people who know how to do the tasks is the easy part. There's so many talented people that we can give jobs to, but I think what sets it apart is like, I'm looking for someone with the right temperament, the right time management skills, and they also have to be able to handle, deadlines and kind of a fast-paced work environment. To me, that is harder to find than somebody who's a great writer or somebody who knows how to write a pitch or whatever,
Yeah.
I would say, managing a team and understanding everybody's personalities and what motivates them and that kind of thing, it is the most challenging part to running a business. I think that kind of goes across the board, agency life or not. To the time zone thing is a real thing. And I tell people this when I hire them. People hear the words, this job is remote, and they think this job is freelance. And there is a total difference. So I point blank say in the interview, I know we're remote, but we have work-life balance, and we are Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Central Time is where most of our team lives. So we're like, we are roughly Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 Central Time. Okay. So obviously, if you're Eastern and you want to flex a little bit or whatever, you're Pacific and you get started at 8 a.m. your time or whatever, we have a little bit of flexibility on that. But I used to have people that just thought they could do the work at midnight and hang out on the beach during the day. And sometimes you can catch up late night, but it was holding the team back, because like person A would need something from person B. Person B doesn't get to it until midnight that night. So then the next day we have an edit on it, and then they don't get to it again until midnight the next night.
Yep.
So something that literally should take an hour literally takes 4 days to get it to the client. And that's just that we can't play that game. So I tell people, I'm like, if you want to be a full-time W-2 employee of this team, you've got to commit to Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
Yep.
If you don't, I may have opportunities to use you as a contractor, but I can never promise the amount of hours you're going to get. And also it is totally, on a case-by-case basis. If we get into it and your availability doesn't really align with what our clients need, like the relationship will just have to end. So I think everything got better once I did that. My work-life balance got better. Our
Yeah.
productivity and our speed in getting things to clients was so much more efficient. And also it's just amazing to be able to be like, hey, if 9 to 5 we're on, and after hours we don't text each other about work stuff unless something is legitimately on fire, which it isn't because we plan ahead. We don't text each other about work stuff. We don't text about work in general. We use Gchat and other things. So we have numerous moms on our team. We've got, all different types of lifestyles on our team, and we all need to disconnect. So Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, when we're on, we're on. And when we're off, we're off,
Yeah. I think this is like a needed call out that I needed to hear today, but I think, I hope people listening to, if you're not at the point of having a 10-person team, hear this loud and clear. I'm at a point of growing pains right now. It still is very important for me to have flexibility with my own schedule, but it could not be any more true to your point of if the rest of the team is not synced, things take longer. If person A is online from 8 to 2, and then person B is online from 10 to 5, they miss each other for 3 hours, and now all of a sudden something's not getting done for the next day. And so it's something I'm personally reevaluating right now because it's hard. It goes against how I work. I like to take, a yoga class in the middle of the day, and then I might, at this juncture in my life, work for an hour after my daughter goes to bed. It's just a transition for me. And I'm like, I and I've wanted to allot that to my team, but to your point, it's proving challenging. So, and contractors versus W-2 is a big one too. I have both. I have a mixture, and you can't control a contractor's hours legally. You can have them, suggest them, you can have a handshake, but unless they're W-2, you can't say you have to be online from 9 to 5, and that makes a difference. So all
It
good
does, but at the
musings.
same time, like if they can't, even contractors have deadlines, right?
Yeah,
And if
true.
they
Yep.
can't meet deadlines based on their lifestyle and whatnot, it's okay. It's just not a fit,
Yep. Yep.
you know?
Totally. Yep.
And we have moms on our team too that have to like bounce in the middle of the day really quick. They're like, hey, I got to pick my kid up at school every day at 2. And everybody knows like for that 30 minutes, hey, that's why she's not responding.
Yeah.
But then she either starts 30 minutes earlier in the day or whatever. Like we always end up balancing it out,
Yeah.
because there's
100%.
stuff you're going to have dentist appointments. You're going to have,
Yeah, of
things like
course.
that. So, really though, it's changed the game.
I believe it. Like I said, I'm in a growing pain right now, and we're hiring again right now. And I'm realizing the bigger the team gets, the flexibility I've always led with is becoming a bigger obstacle. So it's a wake-up call for me to hear you say that, one that I've been kind of pushing down.
Yeah.
So So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you / damn it.
Yeah,
Um,
no.
okay, we're gonna switch gears a little bit. I want to go. So, fun fact or old fact, if you've listened to this show for a long time, but when Whitney and I first connected over Zoom after Instagram, I really, really resonated to her story because I used to be a director of PR and marketing for a hospitality group headquartered in Los Angeles. So I completely am drooling over your client roster. If a new agency is looking to get into hospitality, they one day dream of landing an iconic client like yours, but they weren't a prior director of, PR for a hospitality group. Do you have any tips or advice on how they might be able to break in?
That is a challenging one because even with my background, it took me years to fully niche down. Years. And now, even now, like I do take on stuff. If I really see somebody that comes to us and they're not in the hospitality, travel, tourism space, but I feel like we sincerely can help them, we'll take them on as a client, you know? But for the most part, I really like to stay in our lane. It's best for all of like streamlining our services, our templates, all that kind of stuff. But gosh, what's challenging about it is that, we always say everything's about relationships, but the hospitality industry is 10 times more about relationships because it's a moving target on who's going to hire you. And most of these people, like for other companies, you can go to their website and hit about and see like, oh, their director of marketing is Sarah Smith. You can find Sarah on LinkedIn and send her a message or reach out to her in some way, or use something like Rocket Reach to get her email. But the person who's going to hire you for most hospitality groups cannot be found. They are like asset managers or like they work for ownership groups, and these ownership groups don't even have websites sometimes. They're like 15 different partners that own all these different properties.
I worked for my company didn't have a website.
Yep.
Our properties
Yep.
did, but the parent
And they
company
do
didn't. Yep.
and they do that on purpose.
Yep.
So it is really, really challenging to get your foot in the door. I would say honestly, like you got to start networking, like
Mm,
and going to some of the hospitality based events all over the US. I definitely think that helps build relationships. But really, I think part of the reason why we've had success in the hospitality space is because people in the hospitality industry move jobs all the time, right? They go from this hotel to that hotel to this
yeah.
hotel all over. And so let's say that you get on with a client and you get really close with their director of sales and marketing, they bounce to another property in Hawaii, keep in touch with them. There's an opportunity so that's kind of how we started growing our roster, was like people that we knew and loved from past accounts would take on new jobs, and then they take us with them, and then they take on a new job and they take us with them. And so it's like, and even in your situation, like if you get in good with some of these ownership groups own like 200 or 300 hotels. So if you get in good with one ownership group, then you can really grow a whole business. I wouldn't suggest having all your eggs in one basket like that, but you
Yeah.
could make a very, very profitable business off of their properties,
Yeah. Did you know that I send out a community newsletter roundup every Tuesday, chocked full of resources, media kit downloads, journalist contact information, event invites, visibility opportunities? Basically, if you're not on the list, hit pause and sign up. It is super simple. All you got to do is go to theprbarinc.com/newsworthy. That link is in the show notes too. Okay, back to the show. Yeah.
So I wish I had a better answer for you.
No, I think it's the perfect answer because it's the real answer. And I was on a podcast episode that dropped today. Today, weirdly, ended up being a very podcast heavy day without me realizing it. And one of the questions that was asked of me was like mistakes you've made or things to avoid. And a huge mistake that I made, and I want everyone to hear this because it's in line with what you just said, Whitney, is when I left hospitality, I was so burned out and I was like, I'm never going back, that I just dropped everyone like it's hot. Not in a mean way. I didn't keep in touch with people. I moved locations, and except for, my few like really great friends in house, I really, on both sides, on the journalistic side and on, the ownership side, like all the people, just I completely pivoted industries, and that's where my focus was. Well, fast forward now, 8 years later, 9 years later, and hitting Lexie. Well, I realized this a couple years ago. Lexie started hitting her head because, like, PR mistake 101. You guys, you don't know where you, or maybe you will, but I didn't know where I was going to be 5, 10 years down the road. Relationships are something you should really look at as equity for the long term.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're going to have to start over. Because even though I have tons of experience, or I did 2 years ago when I had this revelation, kind of was back at square one because I had neglected the relationships, which, to your point, are everything.
Oh my gosh. And you know what? Like I mainly work on new business. I work on new business systems, hiring and firing, things like that. I have a director of ops who I love, and she really spearheads the communication with clients and things like that. So it's given me a lot of time to work on new business. And I used to tell myself that like new business was like, you know, reaching out to people and reaching cold calling and reaching out to new people and finding new management groups to look up and blah, blah, blah. And finally, I realized the most beneficial thing I could do was literally spend an hour or two a week on LinkedIn looking through my own connections
Mm,
and just pinging people I hadn't talked to in a long time and being like, hey, how are you? We should have a 15-minute coffee catch up,
yeah.
and then just connecting with them and saying like, and learning where they're at now and what they're doing, not trying to sell them anything, period. I'm not like, hey, do you want to hire me? It's just like, hey, where are you now? Oh my gosh, how did that get there? Reconnect, ask about their kids or whatever is going on. That alone drove so much new business. I had a friend that left a very high profile job with a very big corporate company. And she went out on her own and she's like, I'm having trouble getting clients. And I was like, girl, the people they just don't know what you're doing right now. I
Yeah. Yeah.
guarantee if you pull this, hey, have a 15-minute virtual coffee with me, you're going to have 10 clients overnight.
Yeah.
People can't reach out to you if they don't know what you're doing now.
So true.
And sometimes
Yep.
they won't be the one to hire you, but then they're like, oh my gosh, you should meet Sarah, blah, blah, blah.
It's like the butterfly effect. I mean, I have interns now who are getting to editor levels at key publications, which is also like, when did that happen? What? And you just never, I think, like, the big soapbox here, if you guys, for you guys listening, is relationships are everything. And you probably have a lot more sitting in your pool than you realize. It could be someone from high school, it could be someone from your first job. Do exactly what Whitney just said, and look at your own connections on LinkedIn rather than just fishing for new, or Instagram, or whatever platform you're on. I do
Yeah.
I do think LinkedIn is the most useful, but
Yes. If
um
you're going
yeah,
B2B,
yeah, for
and
sure.
again, LinkedIn is where it's at. So, and again, don't try to sell them anything. Just reach out
No,
and reconnect and let them
correct.
know
Yep.
what you're doing now.
Yep.
Naturally, first thing is like, what are you up to? Ask them. And then they're gonna say the same to you. What are you up to?
Yep. Yep. 100%. Now, okay, last little thing I do want to hit on for those in the hospitality space who might already have hospitality clients, for earned media coverage. Okay, we're recording this in May of 2024. This might not be dropping till mid to late summer, but just to give you guys a little bit of time context, what strategies or tactics are you and your team finding most effective for landing earned media in the hospitality sector right now?
I mean, experience is everything. We can send them beautiful photos and videos and all that kind of stuff, but getting them on property is by far, it's the hardest thing to do, but it's also the most beneficial thing to do. And it's not going to guarantee you media coverage, obviously, but like getting them in person on the property is always kind of our first thing. And then also just looking at, what's trending right now. I'd say for a resort, because I'm like thinking about our restaurant clients and our resort clients, but like fun, unique food is really going a long way. Like even in the travel world, food is such a big part of the travel world that we're really trying to elevate and like think of new crazy things that can garner attention. I have an example. So we have a restaurant group on 30A, which is a scenic highway in Northwest Florida. 30A, for anybody who knows out there, is like a little beach town. So this restaurant, part of this restaurant group, but this one specific restaurant is having their 75th anniversary. They are the original restaurant on 30A. And we're like, we are going to get them in Southern Living or Garden and Gun, like whatever it takes. Like this anniversary is a big deal. And we played up the history side, but then we were like, we need something new. And so their tagline is always deep fried love since 1949. And so we came up with this deep fried love po' boy that literally is a monster po' boy with every single item in that restaurant that you can deep fry.
Oh my God.
Pickles, fish, shrimp, hush puppies, like name it all. And we made this gargantuan po' boy and we got people to try it. And naturally, like not only was it a big social media hit, we had influencers come check it out. It helped us have something. So we're not just pitching history, we're pitching something new and
Yeah.
viral, you
Yeah.
know? And what
Nailing it.
exactly,
All
well,
the
once
sides.
exactly. And once it was starting to go viral on social, it made it such an easier pitch to be like, it's already gotten millions of views on social
Yeah.
media. Then that immediately elevated the pitch.
Yeah.
So sometimes we hold off on pumping up stuff on social because we don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot of like media people see that and they're like, well, that's old news. I saw that on social media a month ago. But sometimes if you time it correctly, it's like that's the social proof you need to put
Yeah.
in that pitch and to impress them, you
Yeah.
know?
So good. So we're going to go back to Denver for the last little part here. And we're going to go with Whitney along to one of the hotels downtown. She's sitting at the bar at this new hotel that'll probably sign her as a client. Duh. And what are you sipping? Because we talked a lot about pitching. So, what is your favorite beverage? Like the setup there? See how I
Oh
did
my
that?
gosh. Yes. I was like, where are we going with this?
Where do we
What's
do
funny
it?
is I've been a listener of the podcast for a while, so I always love the portion where you ask people what they're sipping. Okay. Well, first of all, depending on the time of day, I love a coffee. I'm all
Fair
about
enough.
that life. If it's hot outside, obviously I'm going cold brew. But if we're talking cocktails, I'm actually kind of all over the map.
Okay.
Like I love like a dirty Kettle One martini, super dirty, blue cheese stuffed olives. If they don't have the stuffed olives, we're moving on to something else. I love a spicy marg, and I'm actually super into mezcal right now because this
Mm,
trip I recently did to Arizona just got me on this huge mezcal kick. But I love a spicy drink. I love a mezcal drink. I love like a Oaxacan old fashioned, which is like
okay.
an old fashioned but with mezcal. Um,
All the liquors. I love it. We have a vodka, we have a tequila, we have a whiskey. This
Oh
is
yeah.
great.
If it's cold outside, I love like a big bold glass of red wine.
You don't
Love.
discriminate. My kind of girl.
I
Me,
know
me too.
I'm all over the map. I'm serious. I am all over the map. But I will say this, if my go-to, if I go somewhere and I don't know what to order, my go-to drink is a French 75. Do you know what that is?
I do. I've heard it's, oh, I wish my memory was better than it is. It's been brought up once on this show. I can't recall who, but one time. So I do know what it is because I always Google a drink when I first hear it.
Yes. So it is gin, lemon,
Gin. Yeah.
yeah, gin. So now we've moved on to
I
gin.
know.
Gin, lemon, simple syrup. They shake that, strain it into a glass, and then they top it with bubbly.
Okay.
So it's basically like a fizzy lemon drink that's like,
Um,
it's not so sweet like a lemon
yeah.
drop, but it's
Yeah.
just like really refreshing. And it has to be like Hendrick's gin or Ford's. It can't be something super piney. So
I'm still waiting for the day where I get a liquor sponsor for this show, or non-liquor. I'm down for coffee too. I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh. So there you go. That's the gamut of Whitney. It's like, depending on my mood and what's happening in life and what season it is and all those things.
Time of day, what I'm eating, what's the temperature, what am I wearing, where am I, what am I looking at? I'm the same exact way. So
yep, that's
I totally understand.
All over the map.
I love it. Okay. And the very last thing I want to ask is where people can connect with you. And I want to make sure they also hear about your podcast again. So tell us your podcast name and then where they can go to connect with you on all the things, really, because you know, from being your client to just saying you're epic on the show. Where do they go?
Yeah. Okay. So the podcast, if you want to listen to my podcast, it's called True Story, the PR podcast. So that's anywhere you can find podcasts. And we do a mixture. We do interviews and solo, talking about all things, what it's like to work in PR, working in a remote team, agency life, hospitality, all the stuff. So that's the podcast. And then if you want to connect with, well, if you want to find True Story, the actual agency, truestorypr.co.co. And then of course, True Stories on all the different social platforms as well. And if you want to connect with me personally, the best way to do that is either through Instagram. It's the Whitney Lee. So THE Whitney Lee, or also on LinkedIn. So you can find me, Whitney Lee, on LinkedIn.
Perfect. And you guys, we will put it in the show notes. Your call to action today, in addition to the 5 million things you just learned, is to reach out to Whitney in some way, tell her that you heard her on this show, and thank her for all the knowledge she shared. And I want to thank you for all the knowledge you shared. So you guys, that's it for today. Until next time on the Pitchin' and Sippin' podcast. Hey guys, if you are enjoying the Pitchin' and Sippin' podcast, please do me a huge favor and leave a review wherever you are listening. If you want to connect with me to learn more about the PR Bar Inc., you can do so on Instagram at @theprbar_inc, or you can check out my website at theprbarinc.com. Cheers!